Hi everyone, I'm the Tax Pro, and today we're going to talk about different types of vendor transactions within QuickBooks Online so you know which one to use. So there's a couple of different things that you can do with vendors within QuickBooks Online, and it can be kind of confusing to see which one you really need to use when you look at all of these different options. So I am just going to show you what these options look like within this vendor tab, or this vendor section of the plus new button. And explain when you would use each of these. That way you can determine which type of transaction you want to use, and then you can learn how to use that specific type. So when we look at vendors, you'll see there's the option for an expense, a check, a bill, a pay bill, a vendor credit, a credit card credit, a print checks, and then there's this add vendor button, okay? So when we look at vendors, the option that we choose is going to be dependent on if we're actually paying for something, if we're paying for something that has already been billed out to us, and if we are printing checks, essentially with QuickBooks Online and how we've paid them. So an expense means that you are paying for something at the point of time that you are purchasing it. What I mean by that is, let's say that I run a business, I'm going to go into Target and I'm going to buy office supplies. Okay, when I go into Target, I'm going to pick out the office supplies, I'm going to take it up to the register, I'm going to hand them my card, I've paid for it. I would use the expense tab for that. Okay, I'm paying for it when I buy it. On the other hand, if I'm going to purchase office supplies and maybe I have a vendor that I order the office supplies from, they ship me my office supplies, I get it, and then I pay 30 days later. That would be a bill, okay? The bill is what occurs when I have ordered something, but I have not paid for it, okay? So I haven't paid for that item at the time that I have purchased it. That's gonna be a bill. When I then pay that bill, I'm going to do pay bills, okay? A check is just a type of expense. So I'm writing this check, I'm recording it. An expense you're going to use more when you're paying like with a credit card or if you're paying cash, okay? Now, a vendor credit is when I have purchased something, I am now going to get a vendor credit for one reason or the other. Maybe I've returned something or something was defective, so maybe they gave me a credit, but I'm not actually receiving cash at this point in time when I record a vendor credit, okay? I am recording a credit that I can then apply to a future bill. That's what a vendor credit is. A credit card credit is where that vendor goes on ahead and they reimburse my credit card. Okay, so I've returned something, like I went to Target, I had purchased this office supplies, and then I got back to my office and I realized, you know what, this is the wrong size paper for my printer. I need to go back and get different paper. Maybe Target doesn't have it, so I just return this paper, right? If I return it, they put it back on my credit card, it would be a credit card credit. So vendor credit, I'm not actually seeing that cash, it's just going to be applied later. That credit is. With a credit card credit, I'm actually seeing money go back on my credit card. Print checks is what happens when you have set QuickBooks up to actually print checks from QuickBooks Online. So you have checks that are going to go out, and then QuickBooks can be set up to sync with your printer, and then you can set up actually printing on like check stock. That's what print checks is for, and then add vendor is adding a new vendor. So as a summary, we have expense. This is where you are paying for something when you are actually purchasing it. We have check. This is when you're paying by check for something that you are buying. Check and expense are very similar. Check is just you're actually using a check. The reason that we use this is because we keep track of the check numbers, okay? You can actually use expense and then just put as the reference number the check number. And if you wanted to print a check, then you would use the check feature. Bill is going to be, you've purchased something, you're going to pay for it later. Pay bills is when you actually pay that bill later. A vendor credit is where the vendor is going to give you credit for something that you have purchased, and you are later going to take that credit and apply it against a bill. Okay, so you're not actually seeing anything come back on your card or into your bank account. Credit card credit is where, like, you've gone and you purchase something and then you return it and they're going to give you money back on your credit card. Print checks is where we want to print checks through QuickBooks Online, which QuickBooks Online can be set up to, you enter checks in, you say you're going to print them later, and then you go through and you print checks on check stock. So that is a specific feature that a lot of people don't necessarily use, but you can print checks with QuickBooks Online. And then add vendor would be adding a new vendor to your vendor list. So that is it for the vendor transactions that you can access through the plus new button. Now that you know what transaction type you need, you can then go look at the videos that we have on each of these transaction types to figure out how to utilize them properly. I will see you guys next time.